Could you talk a little bit about your inspiration behind the story?
Yeah, I would say the real kernel for this came from this feeling I was having at a certain period in my life when my career started to take off, and my success didn't feel like a total win. It felt like a loss on some level, and it was because of the kinds of relationships I was in, relationships with men who on the one hand adored me for my ambitions and my strengths, but at the very same time were threatened. And it just made me realize how much hold these ingrained power dynamics still have over us today, even in progressive cities. And so it was something that I wanted to put on screen and explore.
I think the personal experience explains how it's able to be so complex and nuanced, instead of a really sort of flat interpretation of these dynamics. I'm curious about what in the casting process you saw in Phoebe and Alden that made them the right leads for you?
Well, I was immediately enamored by Phoebe from Bridgerton. I rewatched the pilot of Bridgerton, and I just zeroed in on her, and I was just taken away by her presence, her strength as an actor. There was something, warm and vulnerable to her, but also fierce. And then when I met with Phoebe, it was clear that she was my Emily. And then in terms of Alden, I'd been a big fan of his for a while, and I was very excited when he responded to the script. And then when we met, it was also very clear that he was my Luke. Luke had to be lovable and charming, but also had to go to some very dark places and some insecure places. And I just knew that Alden, he's such a strong, versatile actor. I knew that he could bring the complexities of what this character needed, the duality of what that character is struggling with. On one hand, supporting Emily and loving her, but on the other hand, having some things kind of brewing inside of him that leads him to some dark thoughts and eventually dark places in the script. And I just knew that Alden could internalize the juxtaposition of that struggle, and he did it on a level that I didn't even anticipate.
I was curious to hear as well about building chemistry with the leads, and what that process was like, and perhaps working with an intimacy coordinator for romantic scenes and violent scenes.
We rehearsed quite a bit before the shoot, and we rehearsed with an intimacy coordinator, which was invaluable, just in terms of communication, in terms of everyone feeling safe, everyone being on the same page. And I think that it was just a great bonding period, first and foremost, to bond with your actors, for them to bond with each other. And during that rehearsal period, we did these improvised backstory scenes of like the first time they said "I love you," and the first time they met in the office, and the first time they went out for a drink. And I think building that history together, I think was incredibly helpful for fleshing out the chemistry.
The finance guys in the office are very believable. The finance guys in the entire world is very believable. If you could talk a little bit about how you came to that and making it so realistic.
I have a bunch of friends in that world, and so when I was interested in setting it in finance, I was kind of trying to figure out which sector of finance it would be, and after a few conversations with one of my best friends, I think I realized that a hedge fund would be the best setting, just because I don't know, there was something about it that was exciting to me, that women rarely make their way up in that particular sector. So yeah, there was something about what does her success at all odds, or against all odds, say about his value, his worth, when most of the people that do make their way up in the world look like Luke, So I thought that was very interesting to me, that kind of choice. And so when I landed on the hedge fund world, I took some managers that my friends put me in touch with that worked at different firms out for drinks. I just asked them a bunch of basic questions, and And they kind of came on, a few of them came on as consultants, and after, you know, many conversations, I felt like it was in me. You know, I felt like it was just like, it's like studying for a math test or learning a new language. At a certain point you feel like, oh, okay, it's now seeping into me in a way that I felt like I could organically take a stab at writing it. And so once I wrote a first pass, I would share it with them. They'd give me some notes for authenticity, and that's how it kind of went.
What would you like for audiences to take away from this film?
I mean, I made this film to start conversation and hopefully debate. No one person is going to walk out of this movie feeling the same way, and I think that that's essential, you know. But I would say, ideally, I would love to kind of leave audiences with certain questions, and really the same questions that drove me to writing this film in the first place, which is, how can we dismantle the link between female empowerment and male fragility? How can we demystify the role that men are raised into thinking they're supposed to fill? And you know, on the other end of it, for women, how can women learn to embrace their successes without fearing that it'll hurt them on some level?